There is a silent loneliness that many men carry within them, an invisible burden that they rarely find the right words to express. It is not just the weight of expectations or responsibilities, but the feeling of being disconnected from something essential, from a root that once held them firmly in place. In a world where meaning is increasingly difficult to find, where the noise of modern life drowns out spaces for introspection, many men feel lost, trapped between what is expected of them and what they truly feel. This video does not aim to offer definitive answers or quick solutions, but rather to create a space for understanding and reflection. It is an invitation to look inward, to recognize the wounds that have been passed down through generations, burdens we often carry without even realizing it. Because understanding our own history not only helps us heal, but allows us to move forward with greater clarity and purpose. Today, we will talk about the shadows that haunt us, the invisible weights pressing down on men's shoulders, and the struggle to find identity and meaning in a world that often leaves us without guidance. Because only by facing what pains us can we begin to discover who we truly are. No father figure, no wise elders, no rites of passage, no meaning found in the struggles of daily life, no God. This is the modern man, alone and forsaken by the very conditions he has built, uncertain of his place in the world, desperately trying to find purpose among the ruins of a past that once promised paradise on earth through revolutions and ideologies. Every era has faced its crises. The world has never been free of problems or dissatisfaction. Every civilization has had to navigate its own circumstances, relying on a sense of belonging, rites of initiation and passage, faith in a divine force, and shared origin stories to unite individuals under a common spirit. But since the Industrial Revolution and the vast migration to cities, most men have lost their roots, whether their connection to home, family, or even themselves. In exchange for security and wealth, they have adapted their energies to profit-driven social roles that ultimately deform their character. Meanwhile, passive consumption has become the dominant pastime, replacing creative efforts with distraction. With the weakening of religion since the mid-19th century, and with more and more churches turning into entertainment hubs, money laundering schemes, or platforms for religious leaders who exploit people's faith and vulnerability, men have lost the path that once helped them transcend their animal nature. This is dangerous. Without a spiritual connection to something greater than themselves, modern men have turned almost exclusively to their most instinctive drives, leaving them vulnerable to petty concerns, obsessive neuroses, nihilistic ruminations, depression, and a paralyzing anxiety about death that makes them shrink from life itself. Each century seems to strip men of more of their roots and guiding references, forcing them to face the mysteries of existence alone. Throughout history, the definition of what it means to be a man, the roles and expectations placed upon masculinity, has often led to competition, animosity, humiliation, and the devaluation of many of men's best qualities. The pressure to define a man by what he does rather than who he is has conditioned him to repress emotions, devote himself entirely to others, and sacrifice himself through labor. While some aspects of this are true, both men and women suffer under the weight of societal roles, some inherited from ideology, some from family and ethnicity, and others as part of a nation's historical structure. Fathers have passed on unhealed wounds to their sons. Their unconscious traumas have made them either aggressive or fearful, unloading their frustration onto their children or society at large because they never lived the life they truly wanted. And if we do not become aware of these wounds, we too will pass them down to our own children. This video is dedicated to male psychology and the burdens men have carried throughout history. Female psychology will be explored in another video, but women are welcome to watch this content to better understand why men often behave the way they do. If you expect this video to be a guide on how to be a man or how to adopt a more masculine attitude, you might be disappointed. This is not a video of solutions or criticisms. Instead, it is a kind of confession, an exploration of the emotions men carry within them, but often hide through hatred of other men or themselves, through homophobia, or through the exertion of power over women or even entire nations. To do this, the video will draw from Under Saturn's Shadow by Jungian therapist James Hollis, Carl Jung's reflections on male psychology, and Shakespeare's Macbeth, which illustrates the complexities of power. The title of James Hollis's book, Under Saturn's Shadow, refers to the oppressive and corrupting power complex inherited across generations. Saturn, the Roman god of time and agriculture, known as Cronus in Greek mythology, embodies this dynamic of oppression. In mythology, Cronus is overthrown by his father Uranus with the help of his mother Gaia, yet he becomes just as tyrannical as his predecessor, devouring his own children to preserve his power. One of those children, Zeus, escapes, overthrows his father, and begins his own reign, continuing the cycle of inherited tyranny. This myth of Saturn reflects how men have lived throughout history, corrupted by power, driven by fear and competition, harming themselves and others in the process. The power complex, rooted in jealousy and insecurity, suppresses any possibility of eros, of love. Jung summed it up in his famous phrase, "Where love reigns, there is no will to power, and where the will to power is paramount, love is lacking." Throughout his book, James Hollis identifies the ways in which this Saturnian myth has shaped men's behavior over time and how it manifests in their lives today. To free oneself from Saturn's shadow, that is, from the pursuit of power driven by fear, allows men to lighten their burden and move toward individuation and healthier relationships. A man's life is as constrained by social expectations as a woman's. We've heard it countless times, whether from our fathers or some internet guru, that a man's worth is tied to his independence through work. And yes, without a doubt, this gives him great value. But at best, work is a role he plays. It is not his entire identity. Many men, feeling obligated to live under the shadow of values imposed by their fathers, who, in turn, had those values imposed upon them, repress their talents in exchange for stability and preordained paths. In doing so, they sacrifice their creativity and potential in order to provide or maintain a life of comfort and security, but they forget to nurture their relationships with others. James Hollis illustrates this with his own life. As a child, his father never let their family go hungry, but he also never gave him the emotional support he needed because he was always working. While Hollis honors his father for providing, he also knew his father regretted not knowing his own son better. Yet he repressed those feelings because he had been taught that being a man meant nothing more than working. But man does not live by bread alone. Is it possible to live without connection? Hollis reminds us that this expectation of total independence is a trap. We need support and relationships. Otherwise, we will lose our souls in the endless grind of work. In the end, the journey to understanding ourselves is not about finding all the answers, but about daring to ask the right questions. It is about embracing our struggles, acknowledging our wounds, and allowing ourselves to grow beyond them. True strength does not come from silence or isolation, but from the courage to face our fears and the willingness to seek connection. If you've ever felt lost, know that you are not alone. There is a path forward, a way to rediscover meaning, to reclaim the parts of yourself that may have been forgotten. The first step is awareness. The next is action. Thank you for sharing this moment of reflection with me. If this message resonated with you, keep searching, keep questioning, and above all, keep moving forward. You are more than the burdens you carry. You are the stories you choose to create from them.